I don't get to talk about older minis very often. There are so many new things coming out these days that just keeping up with them is nearly impossible. But when our Patreon backers vote to see an older mini, it gives me a chance to root through my backlog closet and pull out these gems from the past. This particular big boy came out in 2007. In 2007, I was living in Wakayama, Japan, and I had never played a game of Dungeons & Dragons or even seen one being played. It was 8 years before Critical Role launched and 1 year before 4th edition officially launched. But I want to talk about living in Japan for a second because it's something that you could probably do too, and I don't think a lot of people have ever even considered it. I was a member of the JET program, the Japan Exchange and Teaching Program, and it was probably the best overall experience I've ever had in my life. If you're accepted into the program, the Japanese government flies you out to Japan and helps you establish a life there where you can help teach your native language to Japanese school kids. You commit to working for a year and you can renew your contract for up to 3 years. I think in some circumstances you can stay for up to 5, but things may have changed since I was living there. I stayed for 5 years in my little fishing village and just had the best life ever. Maybe I'll share those stories sometimes, including my first ever game of Dungeons & Dragons, which took place there as DM'd by my good buddy Andy. But for now, let's take a look at this Gargantuan Blue Dragon here. But before we jump in, let me remind you about my favorite little 5e adventure line, the Big Bad Booklet series from our sponsor Hit Point Press. Not only do you get a fully illustrated booklet every month featuring a new baddie to throw at your adventuring party, but you also get a set of digital reference cards and an STL file so you can print your own Big Bad Mini at home. This month, come meet Xera'yyn, an eldritch horror who's managed to slip through a crack in reality and tie its essence to a mortal host, a tiefling scholar named Fidelity. Now it plans to shatter the veil between the worlds permanently. Will you stop Xera'yyn from devastating the material plane, or will it shatter your party into ruins? Find out today at bigbads.com or use the link below the video. The Gargantuan Blue Dragon here was released as a special expansion to the Dungeons & Dragons miniatures game, now defunct. It comes with a little rule and scenario book tied to the miniatures game, a stat card featuring the stats for the miniature game on one side, and for the 3.5 edition of the D&D role-playing game on the other. And it comes with a map, which I'll show you in just a moment. True to its name, the Gargantuan Blue Dragon is on a square 4-inch base. That would make it an ancient blue dragon according to the 5e rules, but as you probably know, Wizards and Wiz Kids have upscaled dragon minis to be a little bit more awe-inspiring, so this more closely matches our adult dragon minis that we've gotten in the past few years. We'll show you that comparison here in a second. Perhaps my favorite thing about it is the tongue lolling out of its mouth. I mean, blue dragons have always been maybe the silliest looking dragons in D&D, but also my favorites, so I think the tongue is a nice and appropriate little touch. The map that comes with the set is single-sided and quite large at 34 by 22 inches, featuring a nice desert dragon lair with columns, crumbling walls, and Egyptian-themed statues. You may notice some iconography on the map for the miniatures game. If you're using it for D&D or Pathfinder, you can ignore the dotted lines, but the little triangles represent possible rough terrain. And the map does have 1-inch squares, so it's perfectly usable in your games. It's actually a pretty fun little map with lots of little places to hide. Here you can see our big boy next to some of our other dragons, including the only other 2 large dragons released for the miniatures game, the Gargantuan Black Dragon and the Colossal Red Dragon. We also have reviews of those 2 on the channel if you're curious. He still looks pretty dang good for his age. Now, of course, this figure is out of print, but you can still find some on places like eBay. Just, of course, shop with care out there. I believe this was the last expansion to come out for the miniatures game, and unfortunately, they just never got the chance to make mini dragons on this scale. It would have been amazing to have more gargantuan and colossal dragons from this time because honestly, they did a pretty good job of making them. If you did collect or play the old miniatures game back in the day, let me know in the comment section down below what you think. We do also have some of the pre-Wiz Kids mini sets for Dungeons & Dragons from like 10 years ago. Hopefully we'll get a chance to show you those at some point. Again, with just the 2 of us here, it is tough to come up with videos just for the new releases. But if it's something that you'd be interested in seeing, let me know in the comments section. And don't forget to check out the Big Bad Booklet series over at bigbads.com. And if you're interested in teaching in Japan, I'll put the JET program link down below. I did it from 2006 to 2011, so I'm sure a lot has changed, but it was an amazing experience. All you really needed was a bachelor's degree to apply. There's a series of interviews too, but I think what they're really looking for are people who will be able to live overseas independently for a year. If you've got questions about it, feel free to leave those down below too. If you get a chance to live in another country, I think it's a really eye-opening and rewarding experience. And if you enjoyed this video, hitting the little thumbs up button down there and subscribing to the channel helps us out a lot. You can also join our Discord server using the link below. I'm working on a new painting contest that I think will be very rewarding, so stay tuned for that. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. For now, stay safe, have fun, love each other, and I'll see you next time at the Gallant Goblin.